when I saw you were your daughter's dad, I was like, holy crap.
Whatever guy comes home to talk to her is going to face him.
Dude, she's such a badass, too. She knows how to pick winners, man, and she does. I love her to death. Yeah. I'm so happy.
Okay, so we're happy with the boyfriend, current boyfriend, right?
I'm just happy with her.
No, you got to torment him a little bit.
Oh,
man, he was talking about your boyfriend on there. It's not good.
Listen, dude, you know, it's like taking, man. I don't have a lot of money, but I do have a unique set of skills. Okay. Don't cross that line, dude.
What episode is this?
71. We've been counting down this episode. This is the most anticipated.
Why do you think it is?
Because we have our local hero for the podcast.
You know I'm recording.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. We always start early. We got our local hero. You're a hero. How does that make you feel?
My hero? Oh man, I can't take that title. I'm just a lowly, civilian these days.
Did you say a lonely civilian?
Lowly.
Oh, I thought you said lonely. I was like, what did you do to become
not lonely?
So we are back for episode 71, Cutler Cast. We told you we had someone super special that we couldn't actually. People were trying to guess who that guest was.
Yeah, nobody knew who.
And you actually said that they wouldn't guess this one.
I wonder if anyone guessed it right.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
I'm flying under the radar.
So tell us who you are.
I know. I said it's a guy. I said it's this guy.
Yes.
But this is the man.
It is Guy
Smith. Yeah.
Grateful to be here, gentlemen, with the legend himself, Jay Cutler.
Well, I don't know what title to call you at this point because you carry many different titles at this point. So you are one of the most respected, the nicest, and I think the future in the IFBB now at our local gym here at Fit Club. It was kind of coincidental because, I remember the first time we kind of exchanged and I said, wow, this guy has a really good physique. I didn't know your background. And then, of course, we got into conversation. I think you brought it up and, we went deeper into it. But, I'm a huge military guy. So for the respect factor, that's why I say one of the most respected members, right? For
sure.
And now, newest IFBB pro. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir.
So you're an IFBB pro.
Indeed.
And what was your title in the military?
So, Special Warfare Combatant Craft Crewman, SWCC operator. Okay.
That's a long name.
Oh, it's a long name. So that's why I went with SWCC, a little bit cooler. All right. But so anyway, that's part of the special operations community. Okay. So traditionally, when we think about naval special warfare, we talk about SEALs. Okay. But there's another component to that. You have a group of highly specialized operators that are the masters of the maritime environment. Okay. For the last 20 years or so, we've been in war, landlocked in the desert, and we kind of stepped away from that maritime environment. But you've got SWCC operators that train in all facets of clandestine warfare, insertion, extraction, interdiction, direct action, ISR, which is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And that all takes place on the maritime environment. When you think about that, that's one of the most dynamic, most dangerous, most critical environments to operate in known to man, right? Most of the globe is covered in water. You need guys that can operate in that environment quickly, efficiently, okay? And so that's the SWCC. Usually we're grouped up. People don't really know the difference. And that's a good thing. You don't need to expose all the information out there. But that was my role. I enjoyed it.
I got goosebumps listening to this because I never heard such a detailed, in-depth career of someone, especially because, I've been on military bases, and I didn't realize, when we started speaking a little bit, I didn't realize the depth. I know you do some great things now give back to, obviously, to people that have served and whatever else. But your background, I mean, extensive as it is, you retired now.
Yep.
How many years did you serve?
So 9 years total. 6 of that being active duty, right? Operating, being deployed. 3 years in the reserve. Definitely dealt with some injuries and things that I had to contend with. But yeah, 9 years total, man.
So where did this start? Because obviously, you and I spoke about it before, and you kind of explained to you. So explain to me what made you want to get into military, and how did that journey start, and how did it get you to that point?
Wow, yeah, that's I guess we got to start from the beginning, man. I mean, growing up, I grew up in South Central in Watts. Okay, didn't really have a lot of positive role models around. This was kind of in the mid-'80s, '90s, during the height of the crack epidemic. Gang violence was at an all-time high. I mean, I think throughout the years that I was growing up there in the '90s, I mean, it was like the murder capital of the country. It was insane. And so the military was always kind of this beacon of light for me, right? I always knew, like, man, those are the guys that I want to be like, not the guys in the streets, but the military fighting men. I had police in my family as well. So I've always respected the law, always respected the military, and I just kind of knew that was my route early in life. Always thought about being a commando. I loved reading the books. I loved watching the movies. And so that was, for me, it was kind of a pipe dream, but it was something that always kind of kept in my eye, like, this is what I want to do when I grow up, okay? I didn't have Joe Rogan and Jocko and all those guys coming up like we have now. Yeah. So I'm very much focused on, doing the right thing, man, being strong, being healthy, focusing on martial arts, focusing on making my body strong. The schools were terrible where I was coming from. I was homeschooled growing up. I wanted to avoid gang life and gang violence, man. And so discipline and staying focused was it. In the military, like I said, that was always a route that I'd look towards, and the opportunity presented itself. I had a young wife and a family, right? My wife supported me 100% on my decision to jump into special operations. I had friends coming up that were kind of in the game as well. I started, I coached mixed martial arts and wrestling, right? And I met some guys in my gym. I had no idea who they were. They just kept coming in. They were very physically fit, and they always trained. They were always diligent about showing up. And then it turns out these guys are Navy SEALs. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, I just kept finding myself surrounded by these guys.
How did you find out, though?
How did I find out they were team guys?
Yeah, they were, yes.
After training with them and working with them, eventually, you kind of built that trust, and it just opened up, and, you figured out, like, oh, man, these guys are from Coronado.
Because it doesn't seem like people don't voluntarily say, like, I'm a SEAL.
No.
Like, that's the crazy. I mean, I've been on bases, and I don't really, obviously, I haven't got super deep in the conversation. I had no idea necessarily your background. I just know you had a great physique. Not, by the way, nothing like he looks now. He's definitely.
Put some weight on.
I know a lot of our viewers. I know we have our listeners, but a lot of our viewers are probably looking at this guy's arms, and I was looking jacked on here, and. He walks in and says, okay, he just came from the gym, pumped up,
That's it. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You meet these guys, and like you said, they earn some trust in you, and then they talk maybe about their background a little bit, right?
That's it. Yeah, and so I'm training with these guys, and you know what? I made good friends with them, and they were like, dude, if you want to try this, like, you should go for it, man. We're sitting here training all the time. You're jacked, you're strong.
How old are you at this point?
I was in my early 20s. I hadn't really settled down on the decision yet. But again, it just kept coming to me, right? I would always meet these guys. I'd always befriend these guys. And that just gave me more motivation to, like, go for it. My wife was going through nursing school at the time. Her best friend, her husband, was actually a SEAL. And I was like, man, this is crazy. I just keep meeting these guys. And I just decided one day, I was like, this is it. This is my calling. I have the opportunity to do it. I've got all the support in the world. Let me go for it.
How did you get that opportunity to do it? Meaning?
Oh, man. You got to try out.
See, I didn't, like, when we spoke the one day, I never knew this, and this could be me being ignorant to the military, but I always thought to become a Navy SEAL, you had to join the Navy, go through, and then become. I didn't realize anyone can go off the street and try out.
You know what? I think initially when it first started back in the day, that's how it used to be, right? You go into the Navy, you go to an A school. An A school is like, you're going to go up and you're going to be a plumber, you're going to be a nuke, you're going to be a technician of some sort, so that you go to a school to learn that job. Then you have an opportunity to go try out, okay? But fast forward to when I was going in, 2010 time frame, the game kind of changed. We needed to get operators in. And so you had to do something called the physical screening test, okay? So I had to figure out really quick, like, what I was made of. So I got my ass up one day. I went down to the recruiting office. I talked to them, what's the process? They broke everything down for me. They were like, listen, you got to go do the physical screening test. I'm like, okay, listen, man, I'm strong, I'm jacked. I've been training my whole life, been wrestling my whole life. So I go out there, first time to do the PSTs down in Coronado. And I'm thinking that, okay, I'm only going to, have to compete against a couple of guys, right? I show up and there's like, I shit you not, almost 100 guys at this pool. Okay, the size of an Olympic pool. They throw us in probably 6, 8 deep in a lane each. Everybody's got to swim to compete. You're trying to meet the times. So it's a swim evolution. Then you get out. It's immediately a push-up evolution, a sit-up evolution, a pull-up evolution, and then you got to do a timed run, okay? And that's the physical screening test. So that's your first entry. That's where the instructors get to look at you, assess you, see if you can make it. That's where you start to see the first group of people start to fall off, okay?
And how many people start off in this?
Oh, man, like I said, when I showed up to San Diego, because that's the hub, right? It's a big hub. There's probably 100 people there, okay? I mean, there's a ton of guys there.
Okay.
And so by the time you're done, more than half of those guys wash out. And then at the time.
That's the first round, half of them.
Oh, yeah. That's just the physical screening. That's just showing up.
But do you know this is like, do you know what kind of is going to happen? Did they already tell you, obviously being associated with?
See, here's the cool thing, right? They break it down for you. They say, okay, here's the physical screen test. You got to do this, 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 and this. You got to pass in a certain time. But really, they're looking for the cream of the crop. Okay, they want the best of the best. They don't want you to just meet the standard. You got to exceed the standard. You got to crush this thing. Yeah. Okay, so there's no just showing up and being good, because everybody's good. Everybody wants to make it. Everybody's got to push. So something has to stand out. You got to really stand out. And at the time, they were only given so many contracts. They weren't just giving every single person that was outstanding a contract. It was like 1 or 2 guys every couple of months that they were taking out of the whole country. And so I had to do more than one PST. I had to show up and show up and show up. And what set me apart is I was very physically strong. I was able to dominate the pull-ups, dominate the push-ups, and that just set me miles apart from everybody else. Where like the best guy was doing 20, I was showing him doing like 40, 50.
So during a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah, it's all time. The pull-ups, they're
like tell me something. Tell me like can you recall like what you smashed like the most? Like what did you excel the best at?
Oh, sure. So push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, like those were my strongest things, right? The swimming, when I did my very first PSC, I actually failed to swim because I thought so there's a very particular style that they're looking for, right? Yeah. So, if you think you're going to go in there and just freestyle, that ain't happening.
Can't doggy paddle?
So, yeah, right? So that was the first fucking thing I did. Okay, can I curse on here? Okay,
yeah, of course.
Whatever you want. All right, I'm a sailor, don't forget. But I show up, man, thinking like, okay, I'm going to cross-stroke this thing, I'm going to crush it, right? I'm going to the beach and hanging out and swimming. Well, I'm cool. I'm just jacked, do whatever, right? I show up and I'm starting cross-stroking, and the first thing I do is get yelled at. What the are you doing? You got a side stroke, man. I'm like, what the hell's this side stroke? I didn't do my homework. Dude. Yeah. And so that was like my very first lesson right there. You better be prepared. You got to show up ready to go. And so I'm in there trying to, on the fly, side stroke. I'm looking at dudes are crawling over me, swimming over me, pushing me past. And I'm like, I'm failing, man. I sucked at this initially. Get out. I'm like, God damn it. Okay. So I just screwed up the first evolution. But they want to see if you can persevere through those kind of things, right? Because not everybody's going to make it. When you think about what the pipeline is about, it's a nutrition course. It's designed to weed out the weak, whether that's physically or mentally or both, right? And so, okay, knocked out my first evolution. It sucked, but I get back into it. It's push-up time. And you think you're just going to go ahead and knock out push-ups. That's not the way it is. You got guys, instructors standing over you, yelling at you, pushing you. You're beat down. You're doing extra work. They're making you do extra pull-ups. They're making you crawl around the pool, bear crawl. I mean, they're just really trying to take it out of you, tap into you mentally, right, see what you're made of. And so I went through that process, right? I got to see what it was about. I pushed through it, get to the sit-ups, crush that, get to the pull-ups, and immediately, like day one, I knock out 50 of them, dead hang. It was great, right? And so that kind of put him in there, memory-wise, like, okay, who's this guy? We got him. And then I do the run, and man, I'm running, and I'm puking all over the run. I mean, it's kicking your ass. And so that was my first exposure to like, man, this is the real deal. Mm-hmm. This isn't just some game. You can't just show up. This ain't high school sports.
And what you were doing there, this is just screening you.
I'm not even in the Navy yet. This is just
so. Is there any moment during that first phase? You know, obviously you're hyped up to do this, and I'm sure it was like you went home and you were speaking to your wife and like, I'm going to try out for this thing, and it's a challenge, right? But you're also looking at these guys around you.
Yeah.
Was there a point where you were like, I don't know, man, if this is something I want to do, or were you just that type of driven individual?
There was never a point where I was like, I can't or won't do this. It only made me want to dive in deeper, because I knew at that point, I'm like, yep, this is exactly the challenge that I wanted. This is exactly what I needed. And I think that's where people F it up, right? Something gets difficult, they go for it, they got this idea, and then you get a little bit of adversity, and that's what shakes you up, and that's what throws people off. But for me, I'm like a dog, man. It just made me want to dig in even harder. And so I trained for about almost a year of like really getting after, learning how to swim, learning how to push, having to take odd jobs to support my family, push through this thing. My wife, by the time we're starting to get closer, she's pregnant too. I mean, life is happening, but I still got this goal to push through it. And I mean, she'd be pushing my ass out of bed at 4 a.m. to go run, go train, and get after it. And that's just what it was, 100% dedication, 100% focus.
So once you get through all this training, what happens next?
Sure. So you get through the PST process, and now the fun begins, okay? So now you're in there.
You're officially in the Navy.
Well, now you get an option to get a contract at this point. Nothing is set in stone, okay? It's never like, oh, you got it. You got to earn it every day, right? And you think you're going to do one PST, by the time you get through the process, you're doing hundreds of PSTs. You're doing multiple PSTs in a day. And that just becomes a warm-up after a while. It's all crawl, walk, run, right? So you get in, you go through the PST process. Now you're in the Navy, okay? And for me, it was kind of an interesting situation because I eventually got my contract, but when I got the contract, like I said, they were only giving so many at a time. And so they were like, okay, guy, look, you passed, you're doing great. We're going to get you in a couple months, okay? And I was like, all right, I'll get in a couple months. What the hell am I going to do between now and then? And I get home, and I get a call one night, and it's like right before Memorial Day weekend. I get a call, and it's like, we got a slot for you. You need to take it. You need to leave like Tuesday, right? It's like Friday. And I'm like, holy shit. And so that was a hell of a decision that I had to make.
But you're working at this time, right?
Yeah, I'm working. I'm taking odd jobs and kind of just, trying to keep my family afloat.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
And it was a hard and fast decision, Again, like I said, my wife was pregnant at the time, and I've got a young family. I got to make this decision to leave right away. And we went with it. Okay?
So where do you go from there?
Yeah, so middle of the night, I leave, head down to the MEPS in San Diego. That's the processing station. I hop on a bus. We stayed overnight in a hotel in San Diego, and then eventually they take you to the airport, and then you fly off to Great Lakes.
So do you remember this? She's over there nodding her head saying it's bringing you back, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So how pregnant were you at this point?
I was 3 months pregnant, and I miscarried the day after he left.
Miscarried.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
No, I mean, listen, man, we've been through a lot together. Like I said, man.
Do you remember what year that was? 2010? 20,
Wow.
Yeah, that was my last Olympia year, last competition year. It seems like yesterday, right? I mean, it goes by so fast.
It does, man. It's crazy when I think about it, right?
So you fly to, you said Great Lakes.
Yep.
Meaning
so you
like
go to
Midwest?
Great Lakes, yes.
Or is that okay, where at? Illinois?
Yeah, in Illinois, right there on the Great Lakes. And it's, I forget what they call it. Anyway, that's a boot camp for everybody, okay? So everybody that goes into the Navy goes to Great Lakes, all right? But when you go into the special operations community, or the diver community, EOD, something like that. These are all different rates that are like combat types of roles. You go to a special boot camp division. At the time, it's called the 800 division. So that's where they put all the top guys that are trying to go into special operations community. From there, you kind of do a little bit more physical training while you're in. But honestly, man, I hated the boot camp part because I actually feel like I got out of shape when I was in there. Okay, but you still have to reach those standards, right? So you're going through all the normal Navy indoctrination piece. You're kind of learning the Blue Jackets manual. You're learning the watch standards and all these different things, all the rules of the Navy. But then you also have like a separate training cycle where you're like getting your ass kicked by actual Navy SEALs, as we call dive motivators, when you're in the pipeline. Okay, and so you're going through pool evolutions where these guys have you like treading with bricks and doing like buddy toes and all sorts of nutty stuff. You're gonna ask.
I'm asking. Like I've seen these different. I've heard about this. So kind of give like an exact when you talk about these bricks and whatever. Explain that to me.
Oh yeah, that's insane, man. So everybody thinks they can swim, right? Until you, you know what I mean? Like it's all fun and games.
That needs to be a challenge. We need to get you to swim.
I want to know because I'll tell you, I had to do a photo shoot one time, and so they wanted me to lift weights under the water.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so and I was 290.
Yeah.
And so they had the weights at the bottom of the pool, so I had to dive down, and I had a curl, and they had underground video guys there, photographers taking the picture of my face and everything. I couldn't last literally 2 seconds. I was because I thought, like you said, I thought I was going to get in the water, and I was a great swimmer when I was 12 and 13, whatever. Not when I was 290 as a bodybuilder. So tell me about the brick. Tell me give me a situation.
That was the first time where I was like, holy shit, man, this is real. This is crazy. Okay, so. Like I said, man, you think the PST is going to be the hardest thing that you encounter because it is. But now you get into boot camp, and then you're doing PSTs like every freaking day. You're like, holy shit, man. And that's just to stay in that 800 division, to try to keep you in shape. And then they start slowly adding different things. So now you're getting in the pool. Now you got a jacket on. Right, that feels weird. Who's swimming with clothes on? Then you're getting in the pool and you're just doing tons of different high lap ranges, man. I mean, this is where you start getting into the miles of swimming, and then they start introducing things like the brick. They want to see how you react under pressure, under stress, and so it's like this solid 8 or 10 pound rubber brick, and you have to hold it out of the water. You're in a line stacked with however many guys. There's guys in front of you. There's guys to the side of you. There's no room to wiggle around. You can't panic and grab somebody to hold on to. Nobody's going to take that brick for you. You got to hold that fucking brick, and you got to tread it. And guess what? You don't know how long you're going to be sitting there holding that brick. It's all about the attrition, right? It's all about the mental toughness aspect of things. Then you got to rotate it to the other side. Then you got to hold the brick over your head. But the point is, that's where you start to see guys break down due to the stress, the lack of conditioning. That's when you start to get that first level of exposure. That's when you start to see guys actually quit.
So you guys go through and you get, you're in this place. So people actually get kicked out, or
absolutely, man.
Or they say, I've had enough?
Guys will literally, you'll see it happen right in front of your face. They will get up with no shame. DOR, drop on, request. You have to physically say that. Sometimes you could be performing so poorly, maybe you're a risk to yourself or something, and the instructors will make you quit. But for the most part, it's a voluntary thing.
How did that affect you, though?
You ever seen that movie, The Highlander? That's about how it affected me. I took their soul. Serious. I felt stronger. I did. Yeah. Because it just solidified
why you were there.
I'm here for this. I know exactly what I'm here for. There was never a point in my mind where I was like, I'm going to quit. Okay. I made a decision early that I would rather die. And I mean that. I would rather die than go home and tell my wife, my family, all the people that supported me that I quit. Some things are worth
of course
dying for. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And so I made my mind up. There was nothing's going to break me. whatever. I'll get through it. I don't care how rough it is. I don't care how crazy it gets. I'm going to come back every single day. I don't care if I fail something. I'm going to come back every single day until they kick me out of here or I finish. And that was the attitude. Never once did I think.
So where do you go from the Great Lakes? Where do you go after that?
So you finish the Great Lakes. Within Great Lakes, they incorporated another pipeline called NSW Prep. It used to be called Buds Prep. Now it's NSW Prep, Naval Special Warfare Prep School. And that's when we step up the intensity a little bit with the training. Now you're starting to get introduced more to the officers, right? You start to integrate a little bit more there. Then you start to integrate more with the instructor staff, right? You kind of step up the intensity a little bit. They want to see if you guys can organize. How do you think under pressure, right? Now you're living in a house together, not a house.
Are you still in the Midwest?
Yeah, you're still in the Midwest. This is all happening still at Great Lakes. So you go from boot camp, and then you kind of go what we call across the street to that ATC, that A school command, right? This is where now everybody's left the basic portion. They go across the street. That's where a lot of the A schools are. From there, people will then branch off and go to their jobs in the Navy. Same for us. We'd go through our Buds Prep or NSW Preps course there. I can't remember how long it was at the time. It was like 8 weeks or something like that, right? You finish that whole process, and I mean, that in itself is a nutrition course. From there, you do your final screen before you come to the beach in Coronado, okay? If you don't make it out of there, out of Great Lakes, you're not going to the beach in Coronado.
And what's in the beach in Coronado?
That's Buds in BCT. That's where we train. That's the bare basics for SEALs and SWCS. So you get through that process, and then the fun begins, man. Now it's real. So now you're no longer at the command. Now you get your first exposure to the beach and the real instructors.
So tell us how that was.
Oh, man. It was an adventure, to say the least, man.
This is where you get your ass kicked a little bit?
Yeah, and that's all it is, too, right? I mean, that first portion of the training is all about getting your ass kicked. But now you got to see what you're made of, okay, even more. And like I said, now you're starting to, where in the beginning you're crawling a little bit, you're kind of getting your feet wet, you don't know what the hell's going on. They just want to see if you're strong enough to just kind of make it through. Are you going to cry? Are you going to quit? You want to go home? Okay, good. You make it through Buds Prep. It's a little bit more intense, but now this is the real deal. You're on the beach. Everything counts here. Everything. This is what you see on the TV, right? Guys getting wet and sandy, carrying boats over your head. This is when guys are ringing the bell and quitting. When I was going through, I went through a winter course, so you get a little bit more, a little bit more.
How many people are in in this group with you at this point?
Man, it's hard to remember. I know we started close to 200 guys.
This is on the beach?
This is on the beach.
Okay.
So close to 200 guys. And by the time it was all said and done, my graduating class had 9 guys in it.
9. And when you graduate from that, what are you at that point?
Yeah. So at that point, you get your pin. Okay. So you're an operator. Well, you get your insignia, right? Mm-hmm. Budweiser or the SWCC pin for us, right? And basically that means nothing, okay? You still got to earn it. You now go to another course of instruction. So once you finish that piece, you go through CQT, which is crewman qualification training, and that's when you now start to, it's more of a gentleman's course. You're still getting beat down a little bit, but it's a little bit more now nuanced training. You're more conditioning, getting stronger. They're feeding you. They're not worried. You're not so much going to get dropped for doing silly little things. You're going to get dropped for doing really stupid things at this point. Like I said, it's more of a gentleman's course. Now you're interfacing with the operators. They're still your instructors, but now you're getting to see, like, okay, how does it all kind of come together at this point, okay? And so now you're starting to get introduced to the boats, right? So it's a clear thing to make a distinction. Like when you think about a traditional SEAL versus a SWCC, what's the biggest difference? They spend a significant amount of time doing dive ops, okay? That's the traditional SEAL operator. A SWCC operator is going to go and do more mobility operations, learning how to drive the craft, learning how to operate the boats, learning how to navigate, celestial navigation, nighttime, all that good stuff, right? And it's a whole process to that. So you get to that part. That part alone is very intensive too, man, because it's not just driving the boats. Now you got to know how to operate them. You got to know how to repair them. Now you got to learn how to operate as a unit. You got to learn how to manage all the weaponry that goes along with that. I mean, it's incredibly intense.
So the main difference between a SEAL and a SWCC operator is
diving, subsurface operations, okay? And then a SWCC operator is going to deal with surface operations.
But it's
on
the same
water.
thing, just different, similar.
Just a little different. Specialties are a little bit different. Like I said, you need that, right?
Of course.
And when you think about the SEAL guys, they're more doing a lot of land-based operations, okay? And then the SWCC operators are doing more of the maritime operations. So you need that distinction. But oftentimes, man, we're working together, right? Because at the core of it, it's naval special warfare, right? And so our primary modes of insertion or operation or getting around is via watercraft. So we're always together, always working together, always hopping together. It all depends.
It's so intense.
What do you want to say?
Dude, it's crazy.
I'm just listening to you.
No, I mean, I'm still on. There was 9 people left.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy.
Just think of
so there's teams, though, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, so when you say a graduating class, there were other graduating classes, correct?
So
Or no.
Yeah, there's a couple classes a year, right? You got that summer class, you got a winter class.
So you were winter.
Yeah,
So
so
you
we're
were
winter
winter.
class,
So now, I mean, obviously you've been through all this intense training, and what is your mindset now? Like I mean, obviously you grew up in California. We always talk about Orange County, how much we love
for sure,
it, right?
For sure.
So you're not one of these distance people. So, like, you go through all this training and graduate. Now, are you able to see your wife and spend time? Or
That was always tough, man. I mean, you're there in Coronado training, and it's not like you have a lot of free time on your hands to do that. So what I would do is I would try to sneak home, man, as often as I could. So I would literally get my ass kicked all day. Excuse me, guys. Mind you, my wife was pregnant at the time. And so I would sometimes borrow my friend's car or something like that and try to get home in the middle of the night and leave.
And she was
early.
living where at this point?
So we were in Carlsbad at the time.
Okay.
So,
How
that's
far is
like,
that?
Yeah.
so that's about one way. It was like a 40-mile drive. It was ridiculous. It was insane, man. So, I would try to get home on the weekends, as best I could. There's a lot of ancillary duties that you have when you're still in the Navy. You got to stand watch and whatnot. I don't know if you guys are familiar. That's basically like guard duty.
Of course, yeah.
And
how do you shut I mean, we talk about the mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can see the intensity and kind of, you're triggered.
Yeah.
So it's like a switch, right? I mean, I consider I'm one of the few people that had a crazy switch in what I did in my profession. Now, this is just not even comparable to what I did, but how were you able to become somewhat normalized to be able to spend time? And obviously, this goes not just during this time, but as you progressed, spend time with your family and come in and out, because obviously your mindset, I mean, it's just that switch, right?
Yeah. That's a tough one, man. When I think about that, it was very difficult to turn it off, so to speak.
Because you have anticipation, right? You just don't know what's next for you in moments, right?
That's how it always is. And so
do you feel you're still wired that way?
I do in some ways, right? And it's toned down a little bit, and it takes some time to adjust to that, right?
I can see it when he's speaking
when
about
you're
it.
you can see you're coming back.
Like,
you're getting those thoughts back.
You're very military in sense, but when I've ever had a conversation with you, I never witnessed that, to be honest, other than this moment.
Well, I'm assuming he's thinking about these things, and it's just triggering.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to think about. It is. We've been through a lot, right? When I think about my family, how much time I've spent away from my home, I was gone, 300 days out of the year for like 4.5, 5 years straight. I mean, I was gone, like from the day when I tell you guys when I left that night, in the middle of the night, the snowball just kind of kept building and building.
So let me take a step back. So you graduate from, you get your pin.
Yep.
What happens then?
So then, man, the training just never
But once you're graduated from all the schooling, everything, you are.
So how that works? So I graduated from all the schooling, wrapped up everything, and now it's like, okay, it's game time. You're at the teams, right? So one of the last things I did was jump school, which was phenomenal. One of the best things I'd ever done. And now it's time to check in, right? And so we decided that we were going to go to Virginia Beach. Okay. Why? Because that's where the action happens, man. I was there
wasn't much action when we just went there.
No,
right?
we went to Virginia Beach, and that place was a dump.
No. We had a lot of nice military people come see us. We just did a tour there last year. So okay, sorry.
No, it's all good, man.
I know he was looking at me. I was because it was very hard for us to fly there. It wasn't easy from Vegas, and
you know how amazing it was there. We had a flight the next morning. He's like, get us out of here tonight. I'm like, dude, all there is a Southwest flight, and we're stuck in middle seats. He's like,
so you love,
get me home. I don't care.
You love Virginia Beach. Okay, so this is where it really kicked in.
I wouldn't say I love it, but man, it was.
Did you get to choose where you went?
Yes, we did. And so when you're going through towards the end, right, you get a wish list of, okay, where do you want to go? You want to stay on the West Coast? You want to go to the East Coast? For us, we have a team in the Gulf Coast as well. And so I was like, I want to go to the East Coast. Why? Because on the East Coast teams, that's where all the action was happening. That's where all the jumping happens, right? Those teams are very active doing air ops and whatnot, right? And, when I think about a SWCC, right, you think about SEALs have a sea, air, and land teams. SWCC is very much the sea component of that, right? We do a lot of jumping.
So SWCC is part of SEALs.
Yeah. It's Naval Special Warfare, okay? In Naval Special Warfare, you have two branches. You have SO, Special Operator, that's traditional SEAL. And then you have SB, that's Special Boat Operator, that's your SWCC guys. And that comprises Naval Special Warfare.
Okay.
So, very clear on that distinction. All right.
Do the guys think there's different between the two?
In the beginning, when you're going through the beach, there's a lot of little competition between the two, right? There's a lot of shit talking and whatnot. Yeah. And that's good. It's healthy, man. Who's better? Who thinks they're better, right? Everybody's going to think they're better. I'm just going to put it out there flat out, man. SWCC is one of the fucking hardest jobs that you can do out there, right? It's highly technical. Like I said, it's not just the combat side of things, but, you're managing some pretty high-speed craft out there, right? It's very expensive equipment. There's a lot of rules to the Navy too, right? There's a lot of top secret sensitive equipment that you can't lose, that you can't damage, that you're responsible for. So, it just takes a whole nother level, right? Mm-hmm. Not that there's anything wrong on the SEAL side. Like I said, those guys, that's a whole different job too, right? It just
is there, in this, again, pardon me if I'm ignorant.
No, you're fine.
Why is it that the SWCC doesn't get the recognition? In your opinion,
because we don't have a damn Charlie Sheen movie. Okay, did you ever see Navy SEALs? Yeah. So we need to get number 2. All right, but no, honestly, that's just not the nature of the game, man. It's very popular right now to talk about special operations and Navy SEAls, but think about
so many movies
when you guys were coming up. There wasn't a lot of shit out there, right? You didn't hear about it until all the movies started coming out, and then 9/11 started hitting. You started hearing about all the stories and all the guys getting killed and all the crazy things that are happening, right? So it's very popular right now. But at the same time, there's almost no need to just kind of expose that information either, right? And so that's why you always see it's like, traditionally grouped together. It is what it is. It's no big deal. Yeah. On the inside, it's all respect and love, man. You know what I mean? You operate together, right? Are you proven? Can you handle yourself out there? That's what matters. You know what I mean? Yeah. Are you reliable? Yeah.
Do you guys does SWCC have teams like the SEALs have?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Absolutely.
Like, are you allowed to say those things?
No. So it's all broken up, man. That's all. That's all informational kind of stuff to throw people off, right? And so you've got Special Boat Team 12, which is in San Diego. There's not like a 1, 2, or 3. It's Special Boat Team 12, right?
Okay.
Then you've got Special Boat Team 22, which is down in Mississippi, all right? And then you've got Special Boat Team 20, which is in Virginia Beach.
And how many people are involved in that?
SWCC is a very small community, man. There's, a couple hundred guys per command. So it's super small community compared to like a few thousand SEALs, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm saying. It's a very highly specialized rate. And then you've got, development group, which is a whole nother avenue. And so you've got SEALs and SWCC there. Everybody's all kind of housed together. It's a whole different ball game. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So you go to Virginia,
Yep.
and I don't know what you're allowed to say or not say. So from there, you're just constantly being deployed?
So when I get to Virginia, you know, again, you kind of get sat down and, you know, you roll with a couple of guys over there. I went with a couple of friends of mine. I think it was like 4 or so guys that rolled out of that. So that original 9. And so you get there and you sit down, you know, with the team master chief, right, welcomes you in and say, okay, here's what we've got available. Here's where you can go. And so he starts listing off, okay, we got these guys that are going to Europe. We got these guys that are going to go here. And then we got this new unit. And I was like, new unit? I was like, dude, sign me up. I'll take that right there. I had no idea what I was rogering up for. I just heard new. I was like, that's all I wanted to do. That's why I went down there in Virginia Beach. I was like, I want to do whatever is the latest and greatest, anything that puts me into the action. I don't want to go sit in Europe. I don't want to go to Pacific and hang out. I want to get after it, right? And so I rogered up for this new unit. Again, thinking it was going to kind of be more like research and development, kind of cool stuff. But then it just started working too well. You had a great team of guys. And we were tasked with putting together this low visibility maritime stealth craft. It was freaking awesome. Just an incredible piece of technology, right? Wanted to really test the parameters, really test the capabilities of this craft for, you know, operations to see if we could do it. And damn it, we did. And then, of course, when you're the new kid on the block and you're the new toy, everybody wants to play with you, right? And so you start interfacing with different agencies. You start interfacing with different special operations groups, special operations teams from, you know, different branches. So I've worked a lot with MARSOC, love the Marines to death, worked a lot with the Army, okay, special operations, and then, of course, our guys, right?
So if the Army is going to do a special mission,
Yep.
they're calling you guys to get them there if it's by
Absolutely.
water.
Absolutely.
So you're responsible for their safety
100%.
to and from.
Yeah, we take control 100%.
Wow.
Insert, extract, that's our money. That's our bread and butter. So if you need to get in and it's a no-fail criteria, yeah, that's our role.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking
That's
crazy.
that's like we talk about like things we have in life, like priorities or stresses in life. That's a whole new level of.
Yeah.
So no matter what conditions you have to deal with, it's all go.
110%. Yeah, yeah.
Like
in
weather,
fact, the worst
crazy.
conditions, that's when you're going. Because your bad guys aren't.
Yeah.
You know
They
what
don't
I'm saying?
care.
Yeah, no, man. You got to be willing to take it to that extreme. And then you got to be able to control your emotions and train to a standard that the environment doesn't dictate the terms. You control the environment.
Did you ever have any time when you would go into something going, how the hell are we going to pull this off? Or is that a
Never, man. No. And I say that with absolutely no ego at all. I never felt like I was at a disadvantage. I've never been in a fair fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the training was, the standard was that high, and the drive was that high. You know, imagine being around every Mr. Olympia ever, all on one team. Everybody's fucking focused. Everybody's got that drive. Everybody's got that determination. You know that I can look. I don't even have to talk to you about your job because I know that you're going to execute it perfectly. And guess what? You can do my job and I can do yours. So it's like, it's just the most perfect synergy you've ever seen. And it's just a group of guys like us.
So let me ask you a question, and this
Yeah.
may be not like a question that I don't know. So age bracket of like your crew,
Yeah.
is there like an age limitation usually, or it like would you say some guys were younger or older? And I mean, it's very physical, and obviously
Yeah.
it's very mental, and people have, you know, obviously life responsibilities, right? So, like, what would you say the bracket usually falls?
Man, our
Is it
team,
broad?
it is. Yeah, it's broad. You know, at certain levels, you see a lot more seasoned guys. Like, you know, if you go to a development group or, you know, you're talking about a CAG or a Delta, usually those are more seasoned operators. And not necessarily by age, but experience. You know what I mean? My unit, I had young guys, 21-year-olds that were straight men. You know what I mean? Straight warriors. I would trust him with my life all day long. And then there were, guys that were a little bit older. I was one of the older guys going in. But yeah, you get a mixed bag, man.
Can I ask you, was there any weight training during these times?
The most.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Probably very limited, right?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. Listen, man, our community.
And I'm asking about the food too.
Oh, listen, when you're going through the pipeline, like, listen, man, like some pipelines are super intensive when it comes to like starving together. You go through like a Ranger pipeline, right? Those dudes are in the woods for 90 days, starving, running, humping, losing weight. It's horrible, right? It's crazy. On our side, man, they want you jacked. They want you strong. You're eating like crazy, multiple meals a day. You're working out like crazy. Even when you're going through the pipeline, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of weight because the activity level is so high. Yeah. But man, when it comes to chow time, I mean, you can't shove enough food down.
And were you a fast eater?
You have to be, man. You got to get it done. Oh yeah, you're shoving it down because man, if you want to get seconds, you better get your ass up quick and get it done, and you need it. Right?
That's how I am still.
Oh yeah. So no, there was no limit to the food. But then when you get to the community too, it's very professional, man. It's run very much like a professional sports team. You've got amazing facilities all across the board, top of the line equipment, like the Normatex, ice baths, all that crazy stuff. We've been doing that forever, right? All the crazy recovery techniques, dry needling, you name it, man. You've got CSCSs, you've got incredible.
So that the body was just tuned.
You've got
because people face injuries and everything like that, correct? And aches and pains and
yeah, and that's a huge aspect of the program. When I was going through, initially it was called the Tactical Athlete Program, and then it transitioned. It's a human performance, I think, is what they ended up changing it to. But no, man, you've got a full suite of incredible trainers. I think one of our docs was the orthopedic surgeon for the Patriots or something like that. Incredible, right? So you get the top of the line treatment, man. Top of the line training.
Is that just because you guys are in the position you're in? Because we've been to some military bases around the world that at times it would anger me.
Yeah.
Because we would see some of these facilities and we're like, man, like these people are out here defending.
They were a little embarrassed to show us a couple.
It was awful. No floors, dirt, and like nets over top, and like almost like they made their own weights. And I was thinking, some American company would sponsor this stuff to make sure our people. So you didn't have that experience.
No. So this is at the command level. Okay, when you're at home, when you're CONUS stateside, you're at your command. You're at SEAL Team 1 or Special Boat Team 12 or 20. Every command has their own facilities. Multiple facilities too. I mean, we had a massive outdoor tent with turf and you name it, all the best, rogue style, free weights, you name it. I mean, it's intense there, man. So yeah, when you're there, you go through a whole workup, that's physical training, that's unit training, working with different special operations groups, whatever that may be. You go through a whole professional development cycle where you learn leadership, a language, you name it. There's no end to what you need to do, and it's all based around your mission set.
So now let's say, like when you said you would get deployed.
Yeah.
When you get deployed to a certain place, do you still have the facilities, the gym, how?
Yeah, that's where things get a little squirrely. Yeah, because depending on where you're at, so for us, we'd go overseas, and sometimes the facilities would be okay, and sometimes the facilities would be complete garbage. But special operations is a little different. Okay. You have to be on point. You need to train. You need to be conditioned. So oftentimes, if we're going on a deployment, we're probably going to bring some equipment with us. So that way we know, okay, we can get after it and still stay on top. And so that would happen often. We take.
And if you go somewhere, how long would you be in a particular area?
It depends, man. So people don't talk about this, but there's let's call it two different types of deployments. Okay, one is a presence-based deployment. You're going to go to a FOB or base or somewhere overseas. And you're going to sit there for 6 months.
Just to make sure.
That's the standard one that we hear about.
Yeah. That's the one you hear about. Yeah. But then you have purpose-driven deployments, and that means you're going there to kick some ass straight up.
And it could be a week, or you have a mission.
Could be a week, could be a day, could be 6 months, whatever, right? You're going there to execute a very specific objective. You got to be there till it's done. That's it. And so that was the only type of deployment that I ever did.
Wow.
So yeah.
So okay. So you didn't go spend a year in Guam or in
No, all my time is in the Middle East, man.
So you have a mission. You get as soon as the mission is completed, you get to go back to Virginia.
Yeah,
and then it could be a week later, and they're saying we're sending you back out.
No, it was never a week. I wish, man. Sometimes, but it would be anywhere between 45 to, I think the longest one I did was 6 months long. But again, that was nonstop working every day, deploying. It gets a little hairy.
What is the longest that you guys did not connect, you think?
Oh my God.
Yeah. 6 weeks.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of downtime.
I can't even imagine what
on
on not just you, because you're in the moment, but your loved ones, they have no idea what's going on.
Zero clue.
But you do. So the burden on them is, in some cases, even more so than the person who's in the mix.
Yeah, and that's the part you don't hear about, right? A lot of people think it's just the combat action or the trauma and things like that, but we don't talk about the devastation it causes on the families being deployed and what that does to your
and
psyche.
she has your daughter at the time, right?
Oh yeah, and our little guy
and your son, but towards the end, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
and so that's a whole nother level, man, that we don't talk about, because when you're deployed and operating, like that's what you're there to do. Your mindset is in a whole different place. You become a little callous. You become a little cold. There were times
you're a machine.
You're just a straight up predator, dude.
Yeah.
You can't flinch for a second. And again, that has an effect on your empathy, and how you deal with things, and you become it's very easy to cut things off and be kind of cold, and then that's over, and then you have to go home and flip that switch. And sometimes, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And so it could, cause a lot of issues in the house, man. And
that's what I asked, how do you switch that off? And you said,
it's a difficult one, man.
But you think now, I don't want to get too far ahead, but you seem like you've kind of found yourself into now what you're doing. And
it took a lot of work.
But I can see now with I'm listening to this, and I'm realizing how great the bodybuilding thing can be for the gym time and
it's your release.
They call you the specimen at the gym. You realize that, right?
I did not know
that. Yes, because you are you're like a hybrid. So I remember the first time I saw you running on the treadmill, and I'm like, this guy's crazy, like the muscles. And we were just talking about, because you have crazy calves,
You always run with your shirt off.
Man. So that's I'm sweating my ass off. It's ridiculous.
And it's sometimes really hot in our gym.
It does.
Right?
It gets there. Yeah.
But this is like cake for you. This thing is like this whole
bodybuilding
thing
does.
That's what I'm saying. Like this thing, like the whole diet and stuff. You just be like, okay, what else can I do? What else can this is too easy.
You know what I'm thinking of right now? Think of at how hard it was for you. And that was probably when you're deployed. It's probably
people
normal.
Used to talk about me like I was just a machine. Like I was very robotic. Like if I was told to eat nails, I would eat nails. Like you must just run easy with this thing. And now I understand why you perform and look the way that you do, and how now your mindset to excel so well in in bodybuilding and training. And, I mean, you're just you're a lot of good energy. I mean, you bring a lot of good energy. So that camaraderie, I feel like a lot of people, when you get in conversation with them, you just make people feel good,
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. It's been a blessing for me too. And it is. It's been a complete outlet, and a very healthy outlet. I think a lot more of our guys would do better focusing on their health, right? I think there's a lot of great benefits to your mental health, being disciplined and being rigorous with your diet and your training, man. And I mean, that's what we do in the community. And I think where a lot of guys fall off, you get out and you kind of get a little bit lost, right?
Growing up in Watts, you said you grew up in Watts, right?
Yeah.
Did you lose friends in gang violence or?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you mentioned there was an awkward, very hard times there, right?
Yeah.
And you said your family was into some sort of law enforcement, but was anyone in the military?
Oh, yeah. So my grandfather was in the Army. He was a sergeant in the Army during World War II. I had an uncle in the Korean War.
My dad was in the Korean War also.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's a hell of a conflict, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I have another great uncle in the Korean War as well. Military family. My grandmother in some capacity served in the military on the civilian side. And then my uncle was a sheriff for LA County. Man, he worked vice and was just a phenomenal human being. Did a lot, man. Unfortunately, he passed. But so yeah, I grew up with military and law enforcement, in my family. So there was never any of this anti-police nonsense or any of that kind of stuff growing up. Just a lot of respect for the law. But yeah, I definitely dealt with gang violence, and man, I mean, it was miserable growing up too in that. Because like I said, I grew up between Century and Central. That's pretty much the heart of Watts, right across from the great Will Rogers Park, world famous park. And it was just shooting every night. There was helicopters every night.
Was your goal to leave that area?
Absolutely. That was my family's goal. My mom worked her ass off to get us out of the ghetto. My grandmother too. I grew up without a dad. I had all women in the family. My mom, my sister, my grandmother. And they did their best to keep me out of trouble, and they did a damn good job doing it. We never sat around in South Central often. My mom and my grandmother would take me and my sister out. We'd often go to like Redondo Beach, go to Orange County quite a bit. So I grew up going to the beach, grew up going to like libraries, bookstores, and reading those books. That's how I got all into the Navy SEAL stuff, because I would go to the bookstore. My mom, she was very much an entrepreneur into real estate and things like that, just trying to figure out ways to get us out of there. And so she'd be in the bookstore all day reading real estate books and figuring out how to do that, get financially savvy, and I'd be reading books on military, reading whatever I could absorb, right? So that's kind of how I grew up, a little bit isolated, but definitely avoided that gang life as best I could.
Were you an introvert?
Yeah,
did
I think
you have
so.
a lot of friends, or like you said, you guys started dating
early,
pretty young,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Am I an introvert? I'm okay being by myself, right? I'm very comfortable alone.
I am too.
Yeah, I almost prefer it, especially now.
I do.
Yeah, I do, man.
Makes you a great bodybuilder.
Dude, I love it.
I prefer being by myself. It's just me.
Always. I just grew up that way. I was homeschooled too for a lot of years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all different reasons why. I mean, I grew up, my parents were separated when I was 4.
Yeah.
Now, I come from a very, military background. So my father and my brother were both in the Army, and my stepfather also. My mom got remarried, and they actually lived on a military base. So I spent a lot of weekends on military bases. So when I started having the opportunity in bodybuilding to visit and support the military, the first time I went on base, I didn't realize how much my supporters worked out. It's all these guys did it didn't matter what branch. And listen, they would all argue who was the better one. So we were talking about I got along with all. I heard Marines were always we're the badasses.
Yeah. Look, I'm partial to Marines, man.
So I'd visit Pendleton and Camp Lejeune and all these other places, but I'd also go to Fort Lewis and all these other bases, and I went to the Naval Exchange in San Diego, and I was all over the place. We traveled worldwide, toured.
Awesome. Whenever we go overseas, we always reach out and try to do something.
And know this because I think he's discussed that with you.
Yeah. And I'm very vocal about this, and I have no problem saying it. People get pissed off, but I don't always agree with what the military at the highest level does.
Yeah.
That's politicians.
Yeah.
But no matter what they do, it's not the people that are in the military's fault.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like us. They're doing their job. So when people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to support the military," it's like, no. You have to support them because they're you.
Yeah,
those are your brothers and sisters. Do you think they want to do what they're being told to do by a failed politician?
It's insane.
No.
But I meet a lot of personalities. I could tell some people they're homesick or whatever. I remember a lot of times, they're like, "Well, we're going on deployment," and they're not sure where, and that's some uncomfortable for some people, right? They're uncertain.
Yeah.
And what you went through was, the deepest of the extreme. But, for me, you guys find the gym.
Mm-hmm.
You have those times, like I said, you spend time where, you're not surrounded by the people you grew up with or, spent the most time with. How does that affect the mental aspect? I mean, what do like when people get out of the service, some people
Yeah.
stay in for a very long time. You mentioned 9 years
Yeah.
you spent. Like when you exit, and I don't want to get too far ahead if you had other questions deeper on what it is.
We're just letting this
Like
flow.
what
Yeah.
is like what do you think the hardest part based on what you've seen? Because I know you help really mentor people
Yeah.
like exiting and whatever the mental.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you've lost friends, right?
It's horrible. Yeah. It's horrible, man.
And how does it affect people differently in your mind? I mean, is it a hard adjustment to, like I said, I keep harping on this mindset because, you have that switch, and some people don't know how to ever go back
Yeah.
to what it takes necessary to be with their family, relationships, real like jobs or whatever
Yeah.
else. I mean, what is someone like you? I mean, when you got out, what did you look forward to the most?
Man.
Because here you are, you're basically, like you said, a predator, like a machine,
Straight up.
and now you have to this is now
Be a
I'm
civilian.
going back. Yeah, I don't civilian
And even
because
if-
I don't consider like
Taking
I still
fences and
I
ball games.
respect. I'm too respectful to say you're a civilian because I feel like you still give so much, and you did do so much, right? That should carry forever. I think it's almost a little disrespectful that people don't appreciate continually when you exit.
Yeah. Man, that's a tough one, man. It's
You've witnessed, I'm sure, a million different personality changes, right?
yeah, just speaking from my own experience, right? Initially, getting out was tough. It was hard because the tempo was so high too. And you do make some incredible relationships and all that. And I always say it's like having two wives, man, two families. It really is. It sucks because in the military, especially at the teams, like you play a super critical role like a husband or a father would. And so if you're not there, then, oh, man, you start going through these psychological issues like,
They might need me.
They need me. Oh, my God. I'm letting my team down. I'm letting everybody, it really weighs on you. But then at the same time, you've got your family, your kids, your babies, your wife, the people that are there with you all the time that are seeing not the military side thing, but they know you. They know who you are. They see the changes that you aren't aware of either, okay, because you're making those adjustments from deployments and being gone all the time. So, like, it very much is you have two families, and you need to reconcile that. And some people can do it better than others. Some people have better support networks, family, things like that can kind of take that burden off. And some people just don't, man. And so it can be a rough transition for some people. I had a rough transition initially because, man, there was a lot of injuries and things that I didn't really want to accept or really wasn't aware of, too. Traumatic brain injuries, post-traumatic stress, and that comes in all different forms, right? Those things are real issues that guys are facing today, and it's a real crisis, and we need to address it. And how do we do that? One, you got to take care of the families, too. When you're in, I'm not dismissing the shit that our guys go through when they get out. But when you're in, you're kind of taken care of, right? You know what you're going to do. You're going to train. You're going to be fed, and all these things. But like we just talked about, your family's completely in the dark. People don't really realize this, but a lot of our guys are living below the poverty line, too. Real freaking Navy SEALs and SWCC operators having to take second and third jobs and shit to try to put food on the put food on the table. So that's insane. That should not be happening. Then you get out, and it's not like you get a whole bunch of life skills, and it's not like you're going to, you're getting an MBA. You got to kind of start from scratch. And so a lot of guys get out, and you just kind of flail a little bit. The environment's different. You don't have the infrastructure and the people to fall back on, the job. I mean, there's nothing that can even come close to the job that you do on the inside. And so that throws guys off, man. It's rough.
I know. I'm going to ask you another question, though. Were you scared?
Because to get out?
Yes, because you're not scared to do. I just asked you, and you're like, no. It was like direct, right?
Yeah.
But what did you like? I'm asking you about a fear. Like, were you like, okay, what am I going to do ever?
I knew I needed to get out. okay, because I valued my relationship with my family, and I saw that what I was doing was destructive. It was tearing my family apart, and I didn't want to lose that. And I had some good people on the inside too that recognized that and paid attention to it and was like, listen, you know, I had a guy tell me, like, listen, I've never seen a guy stay in and, like, not regret losing their family over it. And that was, like, enough for me. I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm not going to lose my family over this. I did this to take care of my family, to be the man and, you know, be a good example, right? And so, yeah, I was terrified to get out too, because, yeah, there was part of me that was like, what am I going to do? I was doing what I wanted to do since I was a little boy, right? And so, but it's important to own that story, right? And after a while, once I figured out what the hell was going on, and my wife's sticking by my side, I'm so grateful that she was able to identify some things. She's an RN too, so she kind of noticed a lot that was going on with me. She's dealt with psych before, and had kind of seen a lot of the changes that I just really was not aware of. And she's the one to help me, man. To get
So therapy, like like therapy in the family, and
listen, man, we've been through a lot together, okay? And so at some point when you go through this transition, if you're going through a rough transition, you really do, like I said, you got to own that story, okay? Because you can get out and, you know, you can, it's, I hate to say this, man, but it's true. Like, it's easy to fall into that trap of being a veteran. Like, man, I got PTSD. I got this going on. And
did you not want to face it? Like, say, no, I don't have this?
Yeah, because you don't want to accept those kind of things, man, because I never thought I would change, right? I never thought I'd be different or that there would be any sort of issues or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's just not the reality, man. Just the nature of the business is fucking insane. And then you get out, and then the world is insane too. You still got to get out and make it. You still got to get a job. You still have to provide.
The most important position you'll ever be in your life, though, is to be a father. Right?
Doubt.
I mean,
no doubt.
So, like, people prepare their whole lives for that.
Yeah.
So this is probably, and I'm sure she made you aware of this, is, okay, your children and how important that is, right?
Yeah, 110%. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I see how close your family is, which is awesome, by the way. Great.
Yeah. You know what's funny? That's how I met them, was through your daughter. Because she worked at the front of Fit Club. And, you know, she would be in there, and one day she's like, I'm deciding what school to go to.
You know what? I'll be honest.
That's how it was.
The first time I saw you, and your wife works out. She's in fantastic shape, and I know she is in competition, so we applaud you, too. I know you're cheering him on, too. But when I saw you were your daughter's dad, I was like, holy crap.
Whatever guy comes home to talk to her is going to face him.
Just the effect I was looking for, too, man.
I was like, there's no way this girl's dating anyone.
Oh, yeah.
She's like 30.
Dude, she's such a badass, too. She knows how to pick winners, man, and she does. I love her to death. Yeah. I'm so happy.
Okay, so we're happy with the boyfriend, current boyfriend, right?
I'm just happy with her in general.
He's going to watch this podcast and be like, okay.
That's it. Yeah.
So you got to torment him a little bit.
Oh,
man, he was talking about your boyfriend on there. It's not good.
Listen, dude, you know, it's like taking, man. I don't have a lot of money, but I do have a unique set of skills. Okay. Don't cross that line, dude. So, yeah, but you know what, man? I'm super proud of my family. Just to have my family intact it means the world to me, man. I mean, we know so many guys that have lost their families, and it's devastating. It's terrible. I mean, you can't put a word on what that's like, man.
So you said like there's a time limit suggested, or like some superiors or people, like experienced people, have said to you, like, what's the normal time? I mean, if you did 9 years, is that a long time? Or
I think so. I mean, you know, there's a lot of guys that do a full career
as a special operator.
As a special operator, yeah, that's crazy too. And I commend those guys, man. I mean, listen, man, you got some real patriots in this country. People that really
that's what they live for, right?
They don't
have children or spouse, right?
Or they do. These are human beings first and foremost. See, that's the thing, man. There's this mysticism about special operators and SEALs and badass guys like this. No, these are human beings, just like you and me, but they're willing to cross that line, man, to defend our freedom everything that we hold near and dear in this country, your right to make money, your right to freedom of speech, you name it. People really do believe in that shit, and they're willing to die for it, man. They'll do it for free. Hell, I would have done it for free. To this day, sometimes I'm like, man, if I could just go do that, have it 9 to 5 and just come home, that'd be freaking awesome. But no, there's real diehards in this country, real patriots in this country, man, and they're human beings, man. These guys are just willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, and I've seen it over and over again. And sometimes they take it to the extreme, and you know what? They pay dearly with their families, their mental health, their physical health, you name it. And yeah, we do deserve, those guys do deserve to be taken care of.
What would you say to someone, a young guy or whoever, coming out now and was facing what you faced? If you could look back and you could say, hey, this is what you have to do, like what type of advice would you give someone?
Yeah, you got to really just take ownership, man. If there's areas that you know you're deficit, right, you need to fill those deficits. You need to get yourself educated. You need to double down on discipline. You got to pull back from a lot of the behaviors that kept you going in that insane environment, and you have to adapt out here and overcome that. A lot of guys are dealing with alcoholism. Alcohol runs rampant in the military. It's ridiculous. Tobacco use, all that stuff. Things that are really
I witnessed that,
yeah. I mean, it's just every day, right? But you get out and you don't have the rigorous structure. You don't have the PT. You don't have that environment that's driving you, right? Your body will adapt to a certain stress load, and, you know, you kind of become something else in the military. But then you get out and you still try to live it that way, and it doesn't work.
It just falls apart.
You start to fall apart. Okay, you're not keeping up with the training. You're not on schedule. You don't have that routine. So what would I say? You need to double down on discipline, keep a routine, get yourself educated, seek out, you know, if you're doing something.
If you need help, get it.
If you're doing something that's hurting you and you know that it's hurting you and you know that you can stop doing it, you need to fucking stop doing it, and that's everything.
Good to have people around you, though, that recognize
100%.
Right.
Yeah, no, you need to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah, some people maybe are afraid to step up and say something.
What about guys that need help but can't get it?
You can get it, okay? Don't accept that. Don't leave it up to chance and leave it up to just the VA. You know, do what you have to do. That's what I meant by that.
Like,
because
is there programs? Is there stuff that can help guys that maybe they don't know about?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you're a special operator and you need help with a transition, or you're willing to really take charge of this, you know, there's groups like the Honor Foundation out there. You know, you can check them out at honor.org. And this is a group of dedicated individuals that are all about helping our guys and our families transition. There's a bunch of different CEOs, entrepreneurs, you name it, executives that are all part of a network that are willing to help our guys transition, help your resume right, fucking get you a suit, help you get in, do a internship, you name it. You got to get out there and get active and learn how to communicate and learn how to interface with the civilian sector, because that is your lifeline out here. That is how you make it. You have to learn and adapt. You can't hold on to the old things that you did. You got to move. You got to adjust.
You know what I'm thinking of? Like, obviously I was in the military, but I'm thinking if I had a job in the military, and my job is extremely important, the country's counting on me, whether I'm operating a $20 million piece of this or $1 billion if you're a pilot or whatever, and you leave the military and you come back to normal life.
Right.
And now you get a job somewhere and you got some punk kid that's 24 years old talking down to you or disrespecting. Like, I don't know how I would handle that. And I haven't had that type of training or been in that environment. And I'm assuming that happens to a lot of guys.
It happened to me. Absolutely, man. I mean, that's when I knew right then and there that I needed to make some adjustments. Okay. That's a reality that you are going to face, right? Because the military is very structured to a degree, right? And there is a standard there. Everybody goes through boot camp. Everybody, so there's a certain level of comfortability that you get accustomed to. You know that guys are going to snap to you. You know guys are going to execute. There is a rank.
They didn't get placed there.
They didn't just get placed there. Yeah, some people earn it, some people don't. But whether they earned it or not, you still know that they need to execute their job, right? And when you get out, there's a little difference. Some people are laissez-faire. Some people have their own personalities and all that in the civilian sector. But again, that's something that you have to be aware of. And you can't go through your entire post-military life thinking everybody's a problem, right? Every issue is a nail that you got to hammer in, right? So you need to look at yourself and just be honest and say, okay, maybe I need to learn how to communicate better. Maybe I should, probably read some books, learn how to, anything that you can do to give yourself the best fighting chance on the outside. You have to. That's the reality. Wow. Period.
So at what point did you say, I want to compete? Or unless you have another direction.
I think it's more about like in the gym. I mean, I didn't see you in the gym at first. I saw her.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you did you come to the gym before he actually showed up and started coming, because you just popped up one day and I'm like, damn, that guy looks really good. And then I saw you guys together. I'm like, I said, I actually said one day, I said, well, I'm not going to look at her anymore.
Yeah, man. She's the one that pushed me into it. I'm telling you. Hell yeah. Have the right people around you, man.
Because you were training with your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
At one point, I remember. And then you showed up and, then
in the
you
mix.
then I mean, started catching everyone's eyes. And then somehow they kind of coaxed you into. So you are a new, I was going to say new, I know, not new, but like last December, right?
Within the past 12 months.
Yeah, so.
He hasn't done his a pro show yet.
Nope.
So men's physique.
Yes.
Did you do classic though? Also,
No.
I thought he switched divisions.
Nope.
But you actually won the J Cutler. I'm super proud of that. That was his first show. So
Heck yeah.
last year, so which is coming up now.
Yes.
In 2 weeks.
Crazy.
And you've actually made a huge improvement since then.
I was going to say, I think maybe you should let him hand an award out.
I would love to.
I'd be honored. Absolutely,
So
man.
I guess you're gonna have to come as were you planning to show up?
Oh, let's do it. Of course.
Okay, so we'll make sure we give you guys the pass, and I'd love you to last year's champion and IFBB. That's pretty cool, actually.
Thank you, man.
It's a lot happened in 12 months.
It's been a hell of a journey.
I know you just you started weight training. I always told you what came up to you. Remember me coming up and I said, dude, you look really good.
Never forget it.
And you weren't like, I don't think you were even like, oh, I want to get on stage and compete. I think I might have said you should think about doing it, and then like somehow maybe Andy got in your ear, I guess.
Again, I got to give credit to my wife, man.
She got in your ear.
A good woman is going to motivate you and drive you to be the best you could be, and that's always been my wife, man. And so I was looking at getting back into jiu-jitsu, getting back into. I had this bug, this itch to compete. She's training. I'm super motivated. Life is getting better. Things are changing. I'm coming out of, at one point I was on a ton of different medications, man, treating TBI and all sorts of things, right? And so I just started making this shift, just really focusing on my health, getting my body in check. I was vegan for a while, vegetarian for a while. That sucks.
We hate vegan, actually.
We do. I hate it too. But man, it changed my, it brought down the body fat. I haven't drank in 6 years. I quit all
down the
nonsense,
body fat.
man.
I'd never seen him like when I met you. You were already lean, right?
Oh man, I wish I had a picture. I had an old picture of me where I was just looking.
You should send it to Matt so we can post it up.
So we're gonna get some pictures up here.
So listen, the question for you is though, were you looking around the gym and looking at the other guys and saying, "Listen, my husband's much better than these people"?
I was looking at the winners of Samson in the
Okay, so
called it about.
So she was looking at the winners of the contest prior to mine, and said, "Babe, you can do this." So.
Literally.
The funny thing is, I'm gonna call this out. How long did you diet for the Jay Cutler show?
Man.
Because this is the best. 2 weeks? I thought it was 3 weeks.
No, man. I don't even think we had a
so
full
I
2
heard
weeks in.
3 weeks. So now you spilled the beans. You dieted and won the Jay Cutler Desert Classic in 2 weeks. That's how
go,
great.
baby.
So you can imagine how great he
Think
looks.
how much better he is than you. He can do a show in 2 weeks. It took you 20
Surrounded by
years.
greatness, man. Come on, it's infectious. That was it. You dropped
So I
that
think
on
it
me,
was. So was it harder for you to get in shape or learn the posing? Is the question. Feel comfortable in those poses? She's looking up the to figure out that she's going to let us know.
Oh
how
yeah,
long
she's
it
gonna
was.
dig in.
It was only 10 days. Okay.
Yeah, I think the posing was the most difficult thing to adjust to, right? And just figure it out.
I know there's no poses in men's physique, though.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's a little ridiculous, right? But you know what, man? I love it. I love the discipline of it. And the dieting, I love that too. I love going into the trenches, man, and taking my body to the extreme.
Do you have to diet hard to get the condition?
I take it seriously. So I don't know
How many
in
meals a day?
comparison. Right now I'm doing 5 meals a day.
And when you diet for a contest, is it the same?
Same 5 meals, but the calories are down, right?
What's your favorite food to eat on a contest diet, and what's your food that you absolutely can't stand?
Man.
You know, I know with your background, you probably just like there's probably nothing I truly hate because like I said, if I had sawdust and it would work for me, I would eat sawdust. I used to eat dry oats But is there a certain meal that you look forward to the most? Is it breakfast?
I love breakfast, man. I'm a breakfast nut. You give me some eggs. So you hungry
when you wake up in the morning?
Sometimes, yeah. You know, I like to, believe it or not, I like to fast a little bit in the morning.
So what time do you wake up in the morning?
It depends on the day. Like lately I've been sleeping a little bit more because I need to grow, and I found that's been very beneficial. So, you know, depending on what time Jenny gets up, usually I'm up around 7-ish, you know, making moves, and, you know, I'll kind of hang out with her for a little bit, and then I'll eat my first meal probably around 10 or so.
Hear what he says? He's fallen into the bodybuilder lifestyle.
Yeah, just getting chill.
He's sleeping. I'm going to sleep more.
See, what my big question is, can he compete in men's physique? Look at how big he is.
Come on, man.
I don't know what do our listeners and our listeners can't see, but our viewers.
I mean, obviously we're around classic guys a lot, and you're as big.
Let me ask you a question: Do you look at some of the guys on the circuit or social media? Is there anyone that you look at a physique and you like? I like that guy. I mean, you obviously. Is it open or any class, whether it's men's physique? Yeah. I know you're in that division, but
no, I like, you know, there's a lot of great men's physique competitors out there. I do like the classic physique. That's definitely something that I think I'll tap into, no doubt about it, because I want to push my body to the limit too. I want to see how far I can grow. You know, I don't know if I'll tap into that super heavyweight weight class, but I can't say I wouldn't. Right, I'm open to it all. Right now, physique has been great.
How tall are you?
6 foot even.
And you weigh what today?
Right now, I'm 242.
And what do you think you'll get down to when you get to contest? Do you have an idea?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because you put on a lot of muscle since last year.
Put on a lot of muscle, but I like to stay lean. So I'm curious to see how much mass I can maintain while being.
How much weight have you put on since the Cutler event last year?
More than 40 pounds.
Yeah. So your brothers must look at you now and say, "Wow,
dude."
What do your kids say?
They just talk crap to me all day.
What do you mean?
Yeah, no.
That
is a dork in the house.
So your son, he didn't seem very interested in the gym.
He's just.
You know, I've said hello to him maybe a couple of times, and then he sits on the couch and does. What's he play? Video games or? Yeah, something. He sits on a computer or whatever.
He's funny, man.
So we going to get him in the gym training with you is a question.
Come on, there's no question.
When's he going to start training with you? He's how old? How old is he now? He's 11,
man. He plays.
I picked up my first magazine at 12, by the way.
Straight up,
and saw my first bodybuilder, and that's when I kind of made the decision. Wow, this is kind of cool,
absolutely. Absolutely, man. He's busy. He's playing sports. He plays hockey.
Okay.
Got him in lacrosse now. We love sports, man. We're an athletic family, so that's just something you're gonna do, right? I want to see him grow and develop. This is a great age right now, but bodybuilding, absolutely, man. If he wants to get into it, I can't think of a better sport. Really, I love bodybuilding.
Is it great for your mind right now?
Oh my God, it's changed the game for me, man. I've always worked out. It was always an outlet for me. Like I said, when I was growing up, I didn't have the Joe Rogans and Jockos and all that stuff. I just knew that discipline for me was the answer, right? Being healthy, being strong. I knew that was gonna pay dividends one day, and it sure did. Sticking with sports and wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu, it's brought so many great people into my life and experiences.
Are you flexible? Are you able to move around on?
Absolutely.
You're gonna get into some tournaments or
in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah,
I would love to.
So you think you can mix that with the bodybuilding thing? Or?
Man,
what do you love more?
I've been doing it so much. I honestly, right now, I love bodybuilding, man. And I've always been a fan of bodybuilding. I mean, I grew up, and my dad was a bodybuilder. My mom used to bodybuild back in the day. They had a gym together when they were together. So it's always been a part of my life. Always.
What motivates you though? Is it looking at? I mean, obviously, I know for me, like watching my arms get bigger or the scale go up or the lifts. Sure. Like, you're more motivated by strength, or you more motivated by like now watching your body transform? Because you're pretty strong, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I love it all, man. I do. I love it all. Not the health aspect of it too, right? I want to keep my heart healthy. I want to stay strong. I like to feel strong. I believe in it. You need it, okay? I don't like where we're headed in this direction this day in this country where people are soft. And it's like, come on, man. We could eliminate a lot of our mental health issues and health issues if we just stay diligent and stayed on top of our physical fitness too. And so that's part of the reason why I do it. And then, yes, I love seeing my body change and adapt. I love getting strong. I love getting under that weight and feeling it. And, I mean, it just does something for you mentally, right? It's been a healthy outlet, especially now, transitioning. And it's made all the difference, man.
Is there anyone that's an IFBB pro that has done what he's done?
I can't think of it.
I'm going to tell you, I'm the first.
You are the first.
There's no other special operator that has become an IFBB pro.
I don't think so. No. I mean, there was guys that were in the military, you know, David Henry and Cedric and
of course,
Garrett back in the day, Downing back in the day.
Yeah, but nobody that's a special operator, former.
No one that was in the ship.
Jumped in. I haven't seen it. I've been looking.
That's
I
great.
claim that title right now. I'll take that. Yeah.
How many people say bodybuilding is the hardest thing for you? It's not.
So, Guy,
I love it.
Like, how far do you see yourself going? Like, do you have a vision or, like, you know, you challenge yourself your whole life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that, you know, you're raising a family, you know, your mind has kind of shifted a little bit, but how far do you think you can go in this thing? Do you have a limitation or is there no roof?
No, I don't believe in that. If you're going to go into something, you got to go all the way.
You think the Olympia is envisioned for you?
It's set in stone.
That's awesome.
March 26th, right?
Yeah. No.
March 26th. So my show was April. Dude, that's like,
yeah.
I don't know what it was last year.
Not an enthusiast. Not doing this casually.
You're on a mission right now.
I'm on a mission. That's it, man. And like I said, the mission too is to show our guys that there's another way, man. That you don't have to fall into that trap. That you can do extraordinary things when you get out. This is one of the best things that you can do. Just like I said, staying on top of your health, eating healthily, being disciplined, man, exercising daily. That's going to make all the difference when you're transitioning. If you're dealing with PTSD, if you're dealing with mental health issues, you have to get moving. A lot of guys are stagnant.
Are you still running?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because, you know, it's like, that's like voodoo, like no, kind of like.
No.
For bodybuilding, it's usually a no-no.
See, you know, I'm a wrestler and a jiu-jitsu guy, man. So I'm used to seeing big guys running and moving. So psychologically for me, I don't think I'm going to lose muscle mass or anything like that. I see the value in it. Cardiovascularly, just, you know, bringing out your vasculature, losing body fat. Cardio is phenomenal.
How long do you run on the treadmill for?
It depends.
Do you do outdoor running?
I do outdoor as well. I like to, you know, if I'm right now, I've kind of shifted gears in my cardio, so I'm doing more walking, you know, not as much cardio. We want to grow a little bit more.
Of course, yeah.
But when I start getting into it, my standard is usually 5 miles. I like to get 5 miles in under 40 minutes. That's my usual standard.
What's the most challenging body part you have right now to train?
Everything is in the right place at this point. Like my
so you're
training
growing
program,
evenly, you feel?
I think so. You know, with physique, right? There's obviously things that I'm focusing more on, shoulders and chests, right, and trying to keep that look. But in terms of my training program, my coach Andy Velcher has got things dialed in. My diet's on point. My training is on point. Everything just feels good. Everything. I feel stronger. My joints are getting better. All the old injury kind of stuff that I was dealing with is just improving, right? Through diet, exercise, right, supplementation.
Do you still do, like, you talk about the dry needling and the tissue work and that kind of, like, you had that ability to be able to do that. Is that something that you still incorporate in? Or what about cold plunges or anything? Like, do you believe in that?
Dude, I've done enough cold plunge. Yeah. All right, listen. You're not going to catch me.
I'm not on this kick yet.
Nah, I'm not for it.
But we have a lot of people around us telling us how great this is.
Yeah,
we can get one.
They don't know what a cold plunge.
They don't know.
Yeah,
exactly, man. You know, the Pacific is about as much enough cold plunging, you know, that I need in my life, man. But you know, I prefer heat. I'm a sauna guy.
I was too. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me the sauna. Give me the jacuzzi. I'll do that. But the cold, no thanks, man. Nah, I'm good. I hate the cold.
How do you adapt to Vegas? Do you think this will be where you'll stay till the end of time? Are you guys
Vegas.
thinking about somewhere else? Or
oh man, man. I like to move around and see things. I love Florida.
Yeah.
I'm a big Florida guy.
I like the humidity.
I love man. I feel stronger in the humidity. I love it. But I love this desert heat too, though. That's what I love about Vegas.
Matt's from Florida. He lived in Florida for
total
some time.
dumb.
Man. Man, you can't convince me not to go.
I got to go to Florida next week.
Oh,
Is
come
every,
on, take me
is
with
every
you, man.
place a dump? Or
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, we like to move around, man. I mean, you know, when COVID hit too, we hit the road and got to check out Florida. You know, we've driven across the country.
you
2 or
drive
3
or
times.
fly?
I love to drive. We love road trips, man. You know, if we have to fly, we'll do it. But I prefer to drive. I can't stand being stuck in an airplane and just.
I lived on a tour bus, like a motorhome for like 6 months one time because I was visiting military bases, GNCs. I did like across the country and back.
Yeah,
it was a lot of work. Man.
it is, man.
So I was like sleeping on and off the bus and staying in hotels, and like I had a driver full time, so I would literally jump off and. Like for the long legs, he would drive for like whatever it was, 12, 15 hours, and then I'd fly back. He'd go to location, visit certain bases, and you know that was the core at the time. You know, that's when GNC was like the place to buy products.
Of course.
And you know that's
man. Cell tech all day back
of course,
in the day.
yeah.
All the muscle tech stuff.
So
man.
you know, I mean, you've
yeah.
seen the supplementation and
Sure.
You know, it's how important do you think the nutrition is in what you do on a daily basis, though? Have you learned a lot since you started this whole competitive thing?
Oh, no doubt about it. I see now more than ever the value of proper nutrition. Like that, I always felt like that was a major hole in my game.
Did you think you knew how to eat, though?
Of course, right? Because I'm shoving down calories, right? When you're in the community, you know, at one point, you know, when I was in the military, I think the biggest I hit was almost close to 260, right? So I'm kind of not at my heaviest. But I'm certainly more healthy, right? I'm eating cleaner, better. So yeah, no doubt about it. Diet is everything. I don't care what anybody tells you. You got to be on point with your diet. Everybody can train. Everybody can lift weights, but I think the true discipline comes down to, you know, can you control what you're putting in your mouth? Straight up.
I would need to get.
Maybe I was going to say maybe someone over here knows a way to get you some supplements.
Yeah.
Do you have any supplements around this dump?
Oh yeah, yeah, man. I mean, and that's hugely important too, right? Being very strategic with the type of supplements that you're using. You know, I think it's all part of the game. And so,
you know, one thing I've wanted to do a lot, and we've talked about this over and over, and we talked about it. We had dinner one night. Like, I want to find a way to get pro bodybuilding more involved with the military community. Yeah, because every time we've gone to bases around the world, all over the world. They always tell us how excited they are when the bodybuilders come. Not when the cheerleaders come or the country singers or whatever, but when the bodybuilders come, they get really excited. Yeah. There's got to be a way to bridge that gap more and get people like you and Jay and other bodybuilders that are in the community to be more supportive and go do these military stops. And 100%. I know we've talked about it all off camera, but there's got to be a way for us to actually not just talk about it, just do it. Yeah, you know, get the movement going. Just get it going, so we can. And I don't know if you have any ideas or whatever we can do. But
absolutely, man. And listen, whoever's listening to this, let's jump on board and put this together. Because one, man, everybody loves bodybuilding in the military. I don't care who you are. Everybody wants to be big. Everybody wants to be strong. And so we love it, man. We love you in the military, Jay. Everybody respects you. You know, respects the game. It'll be phenomenal to put that together, and so I'm all on board. You know, I've got some great connections that we can make that happen. There's lots of people in the military they want to support, lots of people on the outside that can facilitate that. It's just putting it all together, man.
Because I've always said this, like the bodybuilders have a lot more of an impact on people, especially if they're going through stress in life, or like you said, even if someone gets out of the military, and just having that group of people that you can reach out that can give you training advice or nutrition advice that could help somebody that might not have the background that you do, but someone else who doesn't have that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Like I said, everybody respects bodybuilding in the military. Everybody wants to be strong and on point. And I also think a lot of people would be very interested in competing in bodybuilding too, but many people just don't understand like how to get into it, how to do it properly.
Well, you have a great coach too, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's really like close to you and obviously spends a lot of time. And, you know, I thought this, you know, when we talked about having you on, you know, we thought this would be a great introduction, and hopefully it's not the last time that you come on, you know, as we continue, you know, you start, you know, we want to see you go all the way to the top. And, you know, we've always supported kind of what you've done. So, you know, it's our pleasure to have you on, and we're really honored that you chose to make your way. Like we said, we have guests on and off, but we
Not a
thought
ton.
this would be very, very special, especially for our military people and people that, have a lot of respect for that. We have a lot of people have backgrounds with families and everything else, even our law enforcement or, all our service people. Like, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I appreciate you too, man. This is an incredible opportunity, just to be on this show and be able to have a platform to speak about the military and the experience.
But, it's now with the person that you are. That's what we wanted to be able to, now this is the transition, and there's very bright things for you, and, we can't wait to watch that, that continuous journey for you. We'll be there to back you up, and, once again, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach out to me on Instagram, @GuySmith_IFBB Pro. Please send me a direct message. Offer online coaching as well, mentorship as well. If you want to talk about the military, how to get into it, spec ops training, you name it, that's something that I'd absolutely offer for people. Even if you just need to offload a few things and need to reach out to somebody, please do that. @GuySmith_IFBB Pro. You can also reach out.
We'll put it in there.
Yeah, I'll link everything. Now here's, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer this.
Yeah, man.
Have you picked a pro debut yet?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Or is that a secret? So
You know what? We're putting it together. I do have a show in mind.
Okay, well, don't say anything yet. Let's
Wait
wait until
gonna
it's
keep
official.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're going to definitely see me out there.
We don't want to scare everyone, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we don't want to have the heavyweights jump out.
I'm coming regardless.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. And
yeah, man, we appreciate it, and keep training hard, and
Yes.
we can't wait to put this one out. So
It was an honor, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me on.
appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
We're out.
we are done.